Guys, I finally found figures so large that the review stand is worthless. Work with me here, it's not going to be pretty. So I went into Target yesterday and I found these guys on the shelves. They are the new Funko Five Nights Jumbo figures. I've seen pictures and videos of them all over the place, so I'm really excited to actually get them now. As you can see, it is Freddy Fazbear and of course his best buddy Bonnie. They've only done these two so far. They've not done Chica or Foxy. I'm going to assume that this is like a wave 1, and then if it does well, they'll do the other two, and then they'll probably call it a day there. I don't see this being like an ongoing line from Funko. But looking at the boxes, we'll look at Freddy's. You can see he comes packaged in a somewhat weird pose with his open mouth. It looks like he does have a mouth joint in there, which is pretty cool. He, of course, has his jumbo microphone going around. Nothing on this side. On the back, however, you do have the rendering of the office very zoomed in so that you see like the fan and the posters. Then you have a render of Freddy and Bonnie. Those are the two we can get, so makes sense. And then on the side, it's just another version of the render of Freddy. And then Bonnie is very much the same. Bonnie actually looks shorter in box, but that's because they had to bend his knees in because of his ears. I feel like if this was like maybe a Hasbro product, they would have made the ears removable and put them behind, but it is kind of funny to see. He, of course, comes with his electric guitar, so a good bit more plastic went into this figure, just between the ears and the guitar. And then you can see, like I say, just same box all the way around, except there's a render of Bonnie on the side. So, of course, the whole gimmick here is these guys are massive, and they are posable. They really want you to remember that there's posable joints on these figures. So let's open them up and see what we think. Getting these two out of the box, my first thought is they're actually pretty solid, all things considered. There's some pretty glaring issues that we will get into, but yeah, these are pretty great. We'll look at Freddy first, because, you know, leader of the band, might as well. So Freddy, he is sculpted very well. I do have some issues. Funko's doing what they always do with FNAF 1 Freddy, which is giving him the wrong head. So if I open up that mouth of his, he has a row of teeth he shouldn't have. FNAF 1 Freddy only has bottom teeth, as do all the animatronics. So the top teeth are wrong, but you wouldn't know that if you looked at all the Funko merchandise because they always give him the top teeth for some reason. Also, his muzzle is a bit too wide. So, as long as you're fine with the way Funko usually interprets FNAF 1 Freddy, this is good, but it's definitely not a one-for-one recreation. And also, I do like the detail that you can see the endo teeth in the back of his mouth. That's a very cool little detail. They didn't have to do that, but it's great. Speaking of details, all throughout Freddy's body, there's this very light gray wash to make him look dirty, and there's a lot of sculpted detail for his fur to match the renderings from FNAF 1. Is this the single most detailed figure I've ever seen? No, but it's definitely a lot more detailed than I'm used to seeing out of a Funko figure, which is befitting of its larger size. The paint overall is very solid. I don't have any mispainted parts anywhere. He does have a good bit of articulation, more so in terms of durability than even the normal Funko action figures. We have a big ball joint at the head, gives you a lot of range. You can get confused, Freddy. You can get, yeah, kind of that kind of emotion. You can get, like, head back laughing, why not? So you can get a good bit of emotion out of your Freddy. He does have a universal here at the shoulder that is very stiff. I will say this, all the joints on Freddy are very, very tight, more so than Bonnie. You have a universal at the elbow, you have a wrist rotation, nothing in the waist, but you do have universal at the hips. You should have universals at the knees, and then you have rotation at the ankle. Now I say should because if you look very, very closely, there's stress marks on the knees of my Freddy. I was trying to get the knees to bend, they would not budge. So I'm going to put him in hot water later, see if I can make those work. But I will say this, as good as these guys look, they don't feel good. Funko is using the plastic from their 5-inch figures on these guys, and I feel like I have to tell you this, the larger a thing is, the stronger the material it's made of needs to be. So, Freddy and Bonnie here, they feel very fragile. Freddy more so than Bonnie. But Freddy definitely has some issues. This is definitely a figure that you're going to get into a pose and then kind of have to leave him there at risk of breaking them. You do also have the microphone. The microphone is simple but effective. It doesn't go fully into his hand, so you can just kind of get it in between the finger and the forefinger and the thumb there. He's holding it well enough, but I do wish I could get it further into the hand. Taking a look at Bonnie next. Bonnie's going to be a bit harder just because he's so much taller. Let's see here. Push Freddy back. Bonnie all the way back. Get better lighting on him. There we go. So, Bonnie. As you can see, good bit taller than Freddy due to the ears, but still in scale. That's how they're supposed to look with each other. You do still have a lot of the great sculpted detail. In fact, if anything, it's a bit better on Bonnie just because his model always was a little bit more detailed in FNAF 1. My big complaint about him, really, is the guitar. The guitar is very hard to get into his hands, and he can't hold it with both of them. And you can see just from where I put in the fingers, I've already scraped some silver paint off, which is unfortunate. But there is still good here. You got all the same points of articulation as Freddy, but they all feel so much better. So the elbows are a lot more buttery on this figure. And also, probably because he was packed with his knees bent, his knees can actually work, which is great. I love it when my action figures can pose, especially when that's a gimmick on the box. So overall, I saw a lot of reviews that were really saying Freddy was better than Bonnie. Get them in hand, I think Bonnie plays so much better than Freddy. Freddy feels a little bit more fragile. His joints are a little bit more stiff. Bonnie feels like there was a little bit more maybe quality control at play here, or maybe I just really lucked out with this particular Bonnie. Alongside that, I think they captured his head perfectly. Like Freddy, he has a row of teeth he shouldn't, but he also has those great endo teeth. And to be honest, I just always thought Bonnie was a bit creepier than Freddy. I like Freddy more than Bonnie, but Bonnie definitely kind of bothers me more than Freddy does. And I figure out what it is. It's because he doesn't have eyebrows. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to focus on, but for a long time I couldn't figure out why his face looked weird to me. It's because he doesn't have eyebrows. Well, there you go. But yeah, overall, very solid figure. I don't know if I would have just Bonnie, even though I do like Bonnie. I would have maybe just Freddy, but I'm so happy I got these two as a pair, because I do think they complete each other. Come on, Bonnie, get your guitar back in. There we go. I'm really glad they chose to make two figures as their wave one, as opposed to maybe just making Freddy, because it does feel really cool to have these figures together. That said, I really hope this line does well enough to where we get a Chica and a Foxy. Even if it doesn't though, having these two might be good enough for me, at least for right now. I saw some people who were insisting that these guys were just going to be upscales of the normal Funko 5-inch figures. They're not upscales. They're definitely using the same renders, but the joint construction and the actual build quality of the figures is different. So I think it's definitely cut from the same cloth. I think they probably did upscale the CG renders for the figures, but it's not like you're just getting this figure but larger. Like I said, these figures have a little bit more articulation, and the joints are a lot more durable than ball joints would be. The only problem is the plastic around those joints is less durable. That said, as you can see, I don't have Wave 1 Freddy, but Golden Freddy standing nearby. You can definitely see the similarities between the sculpts, and especially the torsos, but you can see that there was slight tweaks made, especially to the face. Color me surprised, Bonnie's actually completely different. The torso shapes are different, the head is a completely new design, the paint applications are in different spots. Whereas the Freddys are very similar and I can see the DNA, Bonnie actually is just a completely unique sculpt and a completely unique set of proportions from the original Bonnie. So, looking at Bonnie and Freddy again, let's take Tiny Bonnie off. Looking at Bonnie and Freddy again, I think what might have happened here is they did. So that explains it. Okay, so Bonnie and Freddy are using the same torso. So that explains why the 5-inch Bonnie is so much bulkier in proportions, because that would, I think, technically be accurate to some renders, but not to others, because Bonnie and all the other animatronics actually have a few different designs used in promotional material and the actual game itself. So it's not that this is inaccurate, it's just using a different source than the 5-inch Bonnie, And in all honesty, it was probably done to save a little bit of money, because looking at it now, yeah, even the sculpted details are the same between Bonnie and Freddy. Again, this isn't like a horrible thing, it's very common in action figures, it's just something worth noting. Overall, I really do like these figures. I really enjoy Bonnie and Freddy as a duo, mostly on the heels of things like Glamrock Freddy and Glamrock Bonnie. But it's cool to see these two together in such a big scale, and for right now, a scale unique to them. The one thing I'll say is, these figures do go for, I think I paid $35 per figure. That's a tad steep. It is. 25 I could get, maybe even 30. 35 feels just a bit much. I think if you're really into Bonnie or really into Freddy or just adore Five Nights, you'll probably get your money's worth out of these figures. But if it's more just you want a cool, larger figure, or you maybe just want to get something as a gift to someone else, stuff like that, maybe wait for these guys to go on sale. See if maybe you could get like them down to $30. For $30, I could see these guys being great. But overall, there's just enough QC issues, specifically with the Freddy, to make me think that there's definitely problems here. But as good as they are, even with the issues, I'm very excited to see a potential Wave 2, where maybe they're able to work out some of these kinks and give us a great Chica and Foxy. Because right now, that Bonnie is pretty spectacular, and that Freddy can hold his own.